The most expensive warship ever built costs $13 billion. The drone that could threaten it costs $1,000. For 80 years, aircraft carriers have ruled the seas as unchallenged instruments of global power. But drone warfare isn't introducing a new weapon. It is exposing a systems-level fracture in how naval dominance actually works, and the economics behind that fracture may be impossible to overcome. After World War II, the aircraft carrier took center stage in American naval power, replacing the battleship as the tool for projecting force across oceans. Doctrine papers from 1948 described carriers as mobile bases, able to launch airstrikes and control distant sea lanes. By the 1960s, the Carrier Strike Group emerged, a floating city shielded by destroyers, submarines, and support ships, all operating as a single, coordinated weapon. The carrier was no longer just a runway at sea, it became a symbol of national resolve, able to appear anywhere and shift the balance of power overnight. Design evolved with each decade, shaped by combat experience and new technology. The USS Enterprise, launched in 1961, was the first nuclear-powered carrier able to circle the globe without refueling. Angled flight decks and steam catapults allowed heavier, faster jets to launch and land safely. As missile threats grew, layered defenses became standard, integrating Aegis-equipped destroyers and submarines into the carrier's protective ring. By the 1990s, analysts warned that survivability and cost would define the next generation of supercarriers. The Gerald R. Ford class is the most ambitious leap in carrier technology yet. With an average procurement cost of about $13 billion per ship, the Ford class stands as the most expensive warship ever built. Its innovations are designed for both efficiency and resilience. The Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, EMALS, replaces steam catapults with a magnetic rail, launching everything from heavy fighters to lightweight drones with greater precision. Testing shows a 25% increase in launch reliability and less maintenance. The Advanced Arresting Gear, AAG, uses magnetic fields to recover landing aircraft more smoothly, supporting a wider range of weights and reducing deck wear. Together, EMALS and AAG enable the Ford class to sustain up to 160 sorties per day, more than double its predecessors. Two A-1B nuclear reactors provide over twice the electrical power of earlier carriers, supporting not just flight operations but future systems like directed energy weapons. Automated weapons elevators, a redesigned island, and integrated damage control software reduce crew workload and speed up emergency response. Survivability is engineered at every level, from radar-absorbing shapes to reinforced armor and automated firefighting. Carrier strike groups remain the backbone of American sea power, concentrating force and layering defenses. If the logic behind this investment is undercut, it threatens not just budgets, but the entire system of deterrence and global reach that carriers have anchored since 1945. A single loitering munition assembled from commercial electronics and basic composites can be ordered by the pallet for less than the price of a new family sedan. In 2024, the global market for expendable kamikaze drones reached $530 million, with forecasts pushing that figure to $815 million by 2029. The unit price for a Switchblade, a widely exported tube-launched loiterer, hovers between $4,000 and $7,000, depending on configuration and contract size. Indian procurement data reveals even sharper cost gradients. A government contract for 850 kamikaze drones averaged under $300 per unit for the smallest FPV types, while larger loiterers remain well below $5,000 each. At the higher end, Turkish and Russian export models, STM's Kargu or Zala's Lancet, offer modular payloads and multi-mission capability, yet still undercut the price of a single carrier-launched missile by orders of magnitude. On the defensive side, the numbers invert. An evolved Sea Sparrow missile, the Navy's workhorse point defense interceptor, costs $800,000 per round. The SM-6, designed for long-range engagement, runs $3 to $4 million each. Even the most basic defensive shot is expensive. A single missile volley to counter a drone swarm can burn through tens of millions of dollars in minutes. Brian Clark, a former Navy strategist at the Hudson Institute, summed up the new logic. When you can produce a 10-meter drone for under $500,000, the strategic calculus shifts. Mass production becomes the primary deterrent, not the size of the ship. Production scale amplifies this pressure. Indian defense startups have delivered over 1,000 drones in a single year through rapid emergency procurement, while U.S. and Turkish manufacturers routinely fill orders in the hundreds per month. The commercial drone supply chain, brushless motors, lithium polymer batteries, open-source flight controllers enable state and non-state actors to field swarms with minimal lead time. By contrast, missile interceptors depend on protected supply chains and multi-year procurement cycles. Export controls and sanctions slow production, but the global market for drone parts remains porous and resilient. The result is a relentless price-to-kill imbalance. For every $1 million spent on a single SM-6, an adversary can field 200 loitering munitions, each capable of targeting radars, flight decks, or escorts. As the loitering munition market grows, projected at nearly 10% annually, the cost of saturating a carrier's defenses drops further, while the price of defending those ships only rises. The logic that once favored a handful of high-value platforms now faces a test of sheer numbers, forcing navies to rethink what deterrence means in the age of cheap autonomy. A drone swarm approaching at wave-top height can appear on a carrier's radar less than 6 seconds before impact. The AN/SPY-6 radar, the backbone of modern air defense, can track up to 200 objects at once, but a coordinated attack can exceed that ceiling, forcing the system to triage threats in real time. Each destroyer in the strike group holds a maximum of 96 vertical launch cells shared between anti-air, anti-ship, and ballistic missile interceptors. Once those cells are empty, there is no rapid reload at sea. The evolved Sea Sparrow missile, the most commonly fired defensive round, is effective but finite. In a high-tempo engagement, a single destroyer could exhaust its magazine in under 15 minutes if forced to intercept every inbound drone. The flight deck itself becomes a critical vulnerability. During launch and recovery cycles, the carrier's movement is restricted, increasing exposure. Even a handful of loitering munitions targeting parked aircraft or fuel lines can cripple sortie generation, which for the Ford class is designed to reach 160 sorties per day. If the flight deck is struck, the entire air wing could be grounded in minutes, regardless of whether the ship itself remains afloat. Captain Brett Crozier, who commanded the USS Theodore Roosevelt, once observed, "It doesn't take sinking a carrier to achieve a mission kill. Disabling the flight deck or the radar can be just as effective." His warning underscores the reality. The point of failure is not always the hull, but the systems that make a carrier a weapon. The margin for error shrinks as the volume and speed of threats increase. Directed energy weapons promise a new kind of shipboard defense, but their power comes with sharp limits. A Naval Research Lab engineer says that a megawatt-class laser will cut through a drone, but sea spray, fog, and smoke scatter the beam. In rough weather, you are lucky to get a few hundred meters. Even on a Ford-class carrier with two A-1B reactors each pushing over 100 megawatts, there is only so much power to go around. Every kilowatt spent on lasers is one less for EMLs, radar, or life support. Electronic warfare offers another layer, jamming or confusing incoming threats. Yet as drones shift to pre-programmed routes and AI-driven swarms, these defenses become less reliable. Engineers warn that adversarial AI can spoof sensors or coordinate attacks to exploit gaps. One false alarm wastes precious ammunition, and one missed drone could cripple a flight deck. Close-in weapon systems, the last line of defense, are limited by their magazines. A phalanx mount holds just over 1,500 rounds, less than 30 seconds at full fire. CRAM launchers carry 11 missiles each with no rapid reload. Every shot matters, and every defense layer has a breaking point. Admiral James Stavridis lays out the dilemma. We are at a fork. Double down on defending billion-dollar ships, or pivot to a distributed fleet, smaller, more numerous, and harder to overwhelm. RAND analysts warn that budget pressures could cut the carrier force to 2. The logic of mass and cost is shifting, forcing navies to rethink not just how they fight, but what they build. Today, a $1,000 drone can jeopardize a $13 billion carrier, not by matching force, but by destabilizing the logic of concentrated naval power. As autonomous swarms proliferate, deterrence and dominance face unprecedented stress. The future of sea power now hinges on adapting to disruption, not just defending against it.